Complete Money Playbookers, we got a special guest on the program today, since the whole point of this channel is to help young people, really more young men than women, but I have to have a 24-year-old daughter and a 20-year-old son, on their journeys in getting financially literate, understanding how money and finance works. And this is my kid who gets direct access from me. And here's what she would tell you. Does it feel like you, at 24 years old, who are doing all the right things, does it feel like you're winning at this game?
No.
No.
Not in the slightest.
Not in the slightest. And so what we want to talk about it today is why someone who is actually winning for a 24-year-old, doing all the right things, her brother is the same way at 28 years old, because I get to coach them up on a regular basis. And even for them, it's not a perfect game. It's not a perfect situation. But the biggest thing is, you go to college, and when you went to school, did you learn anything about money and finance?
No, they don't teach you any of that. And even when you're doing your kind of 2 years of, I call it repeating high school, the first 2 years of college kind of feel like that. They don't talk about it. They don't teach you about it unless you're taking finance and economics classes as your major. They're not talking to you about it whatsoever.
And luckily for my kids, between me and my ex-wife, we were able to pay for them to go to college, so they did not end up with student loans. They were the lucky kids that get to walk across the stage with a degree and be at net zero. And both of them had a little bit of money saved up, so they actually were in the positive, not net zero. But even with all that being said, you go to college, you get this degree. We talked about many times about what she wanted to be when she grew up. And once you got that degree, what did you end up doing with that degree?
Well, I sort of nothing, but sort of everything at the same time. I have a degree in psychology and sociology. So in real estate, it works out really, really well in terms of the people relationships that I deal with. But in terms of I went and I got a psychology related job was not what happened.
But we joke all the time in real estate, because especially if you do residential real estate, it's very emotional for people. And having a psychology background, I joke, if she had a minor in marriage counseling, it'd even be better. But it's one of those things. And so the reason why people feel like they're not getting ahead, and again, for her right now, graduated college 2 years ago, got into business with me, and currently in the short term is living in my house. And do you want to be living in my house?
Not particularly, but it works out okay.
I'll say, and why do you live in my house?
I live in your house because it is very, very expensive to live in Reno. For rent prices, for home purchasing, it's hard to get ahead as a young person. And I think doing it without a roommate is really difficult to do. And I've actually now been looking around for that next step of things so that I can get out of your house.
Well, yeah, and it's not a bad thing. What's been nice for her is it's been a way for her to get ahead, get some money saved up, get the financial train started. Not everybody has this, but I know many people now in their 20s and early 30s are living at home much longer because of the fact that the world's gotten so expensive, and it has been harder to launch. Now, when we talk about it being harder to launch, you have grandmothers, all right around 80-ish, right? And I know you have this discussion with all the time because they're boomers.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what are you officially?
I'm a Gen Z, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think Gen Z.
I lose track of those all the time.
I do too.
But what I'm saying is that when you have this money and finance discussion with her, what kind of discussions you get in with your 80-year-old grandmother and you?
Yeah, I think first off, there's a lot of misconception about what it is that I do, because yes, in certain aspects of real estate, people do make quite a bit of money, and not complaining that I don't. But I think in their mind, I'm making a lot more money than I actually am. And I work a lot. I work nights, weekends, all day, every day. And a lot of the time what I hear is, you're just not working hard enough. You're just, you need to give it a little bit more time. It's just and it just feels like everything that they feed you is some sad excuse for like, okay, it was easy to do in the 80s. This is 2025, and it's not as easy as it used to be to actually be able to do the bare minimum with your finances.
And when we have this generational discussion, we talk to older people versus younger people, the part that people aren't figuring out, especially for you young people, and that's who we want watching this and learning about these things, is the game right now to start off in your 20s and 30s. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's harder. It's more difficult. Income hasn't increased as nearly as much as cost of living and expenses, cost of housing, the big things we talk about them, housing, cars, if you want to have kids, if you find another person. So things seem to be happening later and later and later for people.
Yeah.
And so what we don't want people to feel like is because they're happening a little later that they're losing.
Right.
The other thing is because they're happening a little later, you guys are also going to live longer than we are.
Right.
Typically now, if you start taking care of your health when you're young, you should easily live into your 80s and 90s. And so, that word retirement that we always hate using all the time, where people are saying, I want to retire by X age. No, our whole goal in this channel is to talk about how do we get to a financial freedom number?
Right.
Because again, I could retire. Why the hell do I want to retire? You got to have something good to do. And we're able to help people, and your job and your finances, everything becomes so much less stressful and such less of a headache when you don't need the money and you're not in a bad financial situation.
Well, and I feel like the big misconception too, when you start talking about retirement age and stuff like that, is my grandparents are all retired, every last one of them. And when you're that far out of the workforce and you haven't worked in quite some time, their image of what's actually going on is so unbelievably skewed, which I'm actually really, really happy that you do still work and you do still enjoy work, because you're in the middle of it with us.
Mm-hmm.
You understand it. You see it every single day. I mean, I work with you every day.
And when we talk to a lot of the boomers that basically get caught a lot of too much free time,
Yep.
a little too much, whatever channel, CNN, Fox News, whatever side of the political process they want to be on, we don't care.
Yep.
But then they think that a young person isn't trying hard enough, isn't sacrificing enough, isn't working hard enough, and it becomes a weird dynamic. So what we are trying to do, and what we're going to talk a little bit about here in a minute, is showing people, especially young people, why it is so important to understand some basic financial literacy principles. So for example, we did this with Sydney already. We did it last year and we did it this year. You fully funded your Roth IRA.
I did.
And when we did this, so it was $7,000 last year, $7,000 this year. And a few months back when the stock market took a shitter, you went and looked at your account and what happened?
Oh, it was bad. Out of the money that was previously there before the stock market decided it was going to take its little hiatus, I think I lost something like $1,500.
Right.
And it looked like a large percentage. The big red number on the side of it was like X percent increase or decrease. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was taught also, when you do invest your money, don't look at it, because that up down is where people start to freak out. So we just looked at it because he was teaching me this is what happens and why you don't look at it.
And what happened 90 days later?
It was totally fine and it recovered, and almost, I think it was, of the margin that I lost, I had doubled.
Yeah, so we're almost $1,500 ahead. So again, 7,000 two times, which is 14,000, and we were in the mid 15,000s.
Yep.
Now, again, go to Dave Ramsey's website, go to free tools, go to the investment calculator. And every time I try to show Sydney, my daughter, who knows me talking about this stuff all the time, and I show her if she just keeps doing this, what it'll look like 30, 40, 50 years down the road, do the numbers seem realistic?
It's hard to look at because it is still just numbers on a screen.
100%.
So when you do show me, and it makes sense where it's like, okay, in 30 years, I could potentially be at this X million dollar amount and it doesn't feel real. Then you look at what you contributed into X account to get to that point. And looking at numbers on a screen, as good as it does feel, because you're like, oh, if I do get to that number, that's going to be pretty cool. But at the moment when you're right in the middle of it and right starting it and it doesn't feel like winning, I'm looking at it going,
So
am I going to get there?
Is it motivation or is it just sort of like a pipe dream?
It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both.
Every time I want someone to go look at that, I want them to feel it's more of a motivation. Now, she's doing a little stream. $7,000 a year is like $583, $584 a month, which I know a lot of people can't afford. But if you started off with what I call relatively small amounts of money, $50, $100, $150, you can still win. So when people make fun of, don't drink the coffee, don't go out to lunch, don't go out to dinner and try to find $150, go to those calculators. That money will make a huge difference over a long period of time. And I'm hoping it will feel motivational for people and not like this burden of. And again, when we talk about all these debts, you just have to get out of them. That's the one nice part for Sydney is right now. 0 debts, no payments. She owns her car and she's doing all the right things, even though the finish line is so far out. It doesn't feel like winning, does it?
Yeah. And I remember though, when we did go to purchase that car after I graduated college, the first thing that I told you I wanted to do, I was like, I need to pay that off as quickly as possible. Right. And I had a 3-year loan for it that I paid off in a year because I was like, I need that debt away from me. And then everything after that, I basically took the car payment that I was making and I was putting it into a savings account because I was so used to making that payment that instead of spending that money, I was putting it away still.
And this is some of the things that we want people to learn. And when you can learn them at this age, it will benefit you so much. So we try to talk to her friends. We talk to one of her son's friends. And the whole point of all this, again, is to try to talk to as many young people. Because if you learn the game at this age, it's pretty easy to win. And I don't ever want to have people feel like it's not sacrificing and there isn't discipline and there isn't some parts of it that are hard. And again, as you go to move out of the house and as you try to then buy a house and get a roommate or potentially, have a relationship with another human being and have a life with somebody, you got to both be on the same page.
Absolutely.
And those things can become, more and more complicated. But again, as cost of everything is more, What I don't want people to do is when they're talking to their parents or talking to their grandparents to end up in these battles over, well, when I was a kid, I walked uphill both ways in the snow and all that nonsense. It's more, how can we have a real conversation,
Yeah,
right?
genuinely.
On how to help you win at this game. And so if you don't have a group, a peer group, someone you can go to, that's the whole point of all this. This is why I started this, because what I couldn't believe is how much of this I knew that my own 2 kids and their friends didn't know, and they have access to me anytime they want.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned. Okay, somebody needs to teach this information. Someone needs to understand it. And again, don't get caught up in social media. What does social media look like for everybody? Like everyone's killing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a lot of the time, this is where the psychology degree comes in. Comparison is the thief of joy, and everybody's heard that time and time again. But it's true. Stop comparing your financial situation to other people. Stop comparing your life to other people's. Get on the life track that you want to get on. Talk to the right people, read the right books, and just stay disciplined and do what you know you're supposed to be doing at this point. If you've been watching this page for long enough, you know what's going on.
Is it easy?
Absolutely not.
Is it still every day a challenge and you feel like some days I'm winning and some days I'm not?
Absolutely.
And the goal of all of this is as Sydney is now starting in her career, starting to make a little bit more money, it would be really easy to overspend,
Sure.
do something I don't need to do. And even when, let's talk about the little trip you took not that long ago, right?
God.
So here we go. Here's a girl who's actually for 24 years old, killing it financially, right? And she went on her first ever adult grown trip on her own to do what?
I was going back to Missoula, Montana, which is where I went to college. I have a bunch of friends up there, and I road tripped with a friend of mine. And what he's going to be getting to in a minute is the fact that I got an Airbnb and I freaked out about it because there was a comma in the price point, and I was like, "Oh my God, are you crazy? This is a waste of money."
Yeah, they carpooled it up. So they drove from Reno to Missoula, which is a 12 or 13-hour drive.
13 hours, yeah.
And instead of wanting to stay on her friend's apartment couch, she decided, Dad, I want to make this a little bit nice and I want to get an Airbnb to stay at.
Yeah.
And it was 2 different Airbnbs because she couldn't find one for the whole week. And it was how much it was, it definitely had a comma in the price. And she was like, oh my God, I overdid it. I shouldn't have spent this money. And I literally had to go say, it's really,
okay.
There has to be some joy.
Yeah.
So the point of all of this isn't to just make it so that every dollar is about the future and investing, and you're just eating cans of soup and rice and baked potatoes, and you're never
okay to have fun.
But again, if you have a plan and it's all coordinated and it's all going, in a direction.
I can do things like that because I'm disciplined enough with my finances to be able to do it. I didn't regret it whatsoever, but it was hard for me to spend that amount of money because of the discipline that I have in my head.
Right.
So he actually was like, do it. If I need to be the one to input the credit card number, I will do it. It's okay. Spend that money. I saved for it, and then I got a little bit of money from one of my grandparents to cover part of it as well.
Yeah, it was like a Christmas
for a birthday
gift.
present. Yeah. So it wasn't even all my money, and I still was like, "Ooh, that's a big chunk of money to be just kind of spending for nothing." Well, but it wasn't for nothing. It was really fun, and I enjoyed it, and I needed it. So you're investing now back into yourself at that point.
So with all of that being said, if you have questions and you want the perspective of a younger person, I'm going to bring Sydney on here every once in a while. Ask your questions, reach out to us, because what we did is we literally just started trying to think of things that would be helpful, especially for young women, young men, 20s and 30s. And if you're older, more my age, I'm in my 50s, It is not too late to win. The game just changes. And what we talk about all the time with this is why we call it the Complete Money Playbook. We're trying to turn this into a game for people, is to say, okay, what is my game? Me playing against me figuring out what my situation is, and having someone I can go talk to and ask the questions of. And so you may not know me. You can research me, look my name up online. I've been a real estate agent. I've had a real estate career for 25 years. And my daughter will tell you, this is going to be my next thing. Yep. As she's taken over more and more of my real estate business, I want to be able to help all of you learn this because, again, the reason it started was, one, my 2 kids were shockingly illiterate about this information. They're my kids. And 2, as Sydney's starting to see now more and more, as we go to sell people's homes that are in their 60s and 70s and 80s, it is super sad when their financial situation is
a mess.
It's bad. They don't know what they're going to do. A husband or wife passes away. Now there's one of them, and they've never dealt with their money and finances. And this is not something you ever want to abdicate to somebody else. And the other thing is that if your money is with another person, you're in a relationship with another person, there's 2 of you, This is one of the biggest reasons we sell homes. People fight over money. They argue over money. One's a spender, one's a saver, one's an investor. And you want to know how all this works so that you can be on the same page. And when you are, it's amazing because you can have the trip, have a little fun, hard, right?
Yeah.
And plan and invest not only for the long term in retirement accounts, like I've got my daughter now doing the retirement and the non-retirement accounts, and there's differences how those works. And she didn't understand that. We were having a conversation yesterday about it, understanding how this is going to happen for in the future. So, if anyone's out there, ask the questions, right? It's the important thing. And any last little bits of wisdom you want to part on some young people that are trying to win this game. We know it's hard, but it's doable, right?
It absolutely is doable. And I think you have to get the judgment of your friends out of your head. You have to, because there are going to be people that look at you as the person who wants to turn your life around financially. And they're going to say, dude, why are you spending or saving so much money? Like, why don't you just come hang out with us every weekend? Come, do
Have
all this kind of
drinks,
stuff,
right?
do all of this kind of reckless stuff. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. But what I am saying is if it doesn't align with your goals at that particular time, don't do it. And don't care that people judge you for it. It's totally okay. Because I promise you, the people that are on your same page and want to be doing what you're doing, they'll find you.
Well, we talked about this for years. As you start to elevate your life, not everybody's going to come along for the ride. And it's sad. It's unfortunate because there's lots of people we would love to help that for whatever reason, maybe at the phase of their life or the season of their life, they're just not ready for it yet. And there's lots of friends we've had come and go over my 54 years on earth where some people are in it for the duration of your whole life, and some people are only in it for a season, a partial part of your life. But you can win. You can do this. There's nothing rocket science about this. And again, if people did the basic fundamental things,
that's all I do.
We'll put a link down below. You can get my little sheet of paper that talks about if you just did these 11 things, you don't have to get crazy. Now, there's way more than those 11 we would love to do, but you don't have to do more than those. It's just basic fundamentals. And if you can do those for a while, then we can worry about the next steps and the next things to get you going further down the road. So thanks for coming on. I literally just was recording videos and grabbed her totally impromptu and thought, let's impart some wisdom on some young people.
Absolutely. And I am always around. So if you guys have questions about what I've personally been doing, direct them to Brian. We'll do more videos and content together. So we'll see you next time.
Awesome.